Lecture 8, Assurances and Auditing Research. So what are assurance services? Assurance services are independent professional services that improve the quality of information or its context for decision makers. Right, for example, the car impact test. Right, this is a kind of assurance services. It's add value to the users, not just the report. Right, in summary, the assurance services improve the quality of the information or its context. It's a three-party contract for assurance services. We have the client, right, the assurer, and the third party to whom the accountant is providing assurances. Example of the assurance services provided by ACCT, for example, we have the XBRL assurances. So in this case, ACCT provides independent verification of the quality of the XBRL formatted information for the company or for the issuer. Therefore, the information users, right, the readers, right, get the assurance from the ACCT, basically saying, okay, their XBRL reporting is fine, right? Is in compliance with the standards. ACCT also has SOC assurance technologies and other emerging assurance technologies. And here the SOC we talked about before, Service Organization Controls. It has a SOC 1 and SOC 2 compliance report. And our accounting firms also provide sustainability assurance now. Right, it's an involving assurance service. Basically, third party is going to verify the sustainability efforts of the company, right? Including reports on the sustainability or ESG audit. So the accounting firm's audit is going to provide those kind of assurance. The purpose is to ensure that the products and services are sustainable and the employees are treated well. And this is an important assurance because it impacts on society and communities. Attestation and audit services are a special type of assurance services. So we're going to talk about that. You can check a list of other assurance services provided by accounting firms. For example, we have a list provided by the Deloitte, right, audit firm. You can check all kind of assurance services they have. Consulting is not part of the assurance service. Consulting is often referred to as management consulting services or management advisory services. For example, right, accounting firms may provide a litigation support service, right, computer installation engagement services, or market study services. Right, the consulting services typically involved from accounting-related matters in connection with audit or tax engagement. The main differences between the consulting services and the assurance services is that consulting services is a two-party contract, right? It only has client and the consultant or the accountant. There's no third party they're responsible for. In providing consulting service, CPA develops findings, conclusions, and recommendations. And typically, there are certain standard rules to follow. And we have the general standards. The general standards rules of the AICPA Code of Professional Conduct. Right, that's the general standards to follow. We also have the specific consulting standards to follow, which is a Statement on Standards for Consulting Services, SSCS. Right, it provides standards for the practitioner rendering consulting services. Okay, you can check those links to see those standards and rules. Now we both go back to assurance services. Let's talk about attestation and audit, attest engagement and standards. So a test engagement is one in which a practitioner is engaged in an examination review and agreed upon procedures performed under the attestation standards to issue a report related to a subject matter or assertion that is the responsibility of another party. Right. For example, the company may issue a financial statement saying, our financial results are good. And that's a responsibility of the company. And now the auditor is going to kick in, right, and perform various test examinations, basically, right, to attest that the company has followed the appropriate, accounting procedures to get those results, right? Right. Following are the specific attest services and the standards, right, we have to follow. If we have audit and attest services for public companies, okay, and we have to follow the auditing and the related professional practice standards issued by the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, or the PCAOB. And here is a test service for public companies. And also it includes a dealer and brokers. An audit and test services for non-public companies, right? And we have to follow the Statement on Auditing Standards, or SAS, issued by Auditing Standard Board, ASB, from the AICPA. If we provide accounting and review services, right, we need to follow the Statement on Standards for Accounting and Review, right? It's from the Accounting and Review Service Committees. And accounting and review services are not audit services. Okay, basically we have three types of services we can provide. We can help the company prepare their financial statement, preparation services. We can provide compilation services. Basically, we can assist the company managers to get to the financial statement. Okay, so we just assist. And finally, we can review their financial statement. Again, it's not an audit. Review is just to apply simple procedures to take a look. Basically, it's not an audit. So these are accounting and review services. If we provide services on prospective financial information, for example, the forecast, financial results, right? We have to follow the Statements on Standards for Accounting Services on prospective financial information issued by the Auditing Standard Board. Yeah, I can take a look at it, the specific rule. It's a really old rule. I believe it's issued in 1985. It's a really old rule. Right. For other attest services, we need to follow the Statement on Standards for attest engagement. Right. It's a collaboration between ASB, ARC, and the Management Consulting Services Executive Committee. Next, let's talk about auditing. Auditing standard setting environment. Audit add credibility to financial information. Auditor conducts audit in conformity with GAAP and in conjunction with auditing standards. If auditors provide any non-audit engagement, right, they must follow various attestation standards. Auditing standards impact audit behavior. We all know that. In addition, auditing standards serve very important objectives that include the identification of what an audit is, right, aiding audit education and the judgment of audit performance. There are two approaches to the audit standard setting. We have the rule-based and a principle-based. A rule-based approach basically is going to provide very detailed or descriptive of the standards. So we have to have a checklist, and we examine everything on the checklist, follow all the procedures listed. Right, that's rule-based. Right, although we have a very detailed instructions, but we may miss important issue not listed by the rule. That's a disadvantage of the rule-based approach. Another approach is principle-based approach. Basically, it provides more rooms for auditors to apply their professional judgment. Right, so the auditors, in practice, they're going to determine what are the checkpoints they're going to test. Right, they're going to have their own list using their professional judgment. Right, typically the actual standard setting is a combination of both the rule-based and principle-based approaches. Right, auditing standards. Who are the standard setters? Previously, it's set by the Auditing Standard Board of the ACCT. All auditing work. Then the SOX, it's around 2002 maybe, the SOX transferred standard setting responsibility to the PCAOB, okay, for public company audit. Therefore, the standard setter for non-public company remain with the ACCT. Now, after these transitions, what's the ACCT's mission? So ACCT is going to continue to develop auditing, attestation, and quality control standards for non-issuer engagement, basically non-public company engagement. Right, contribute to the development and issuance of high-quality national and international auditing and assurance standards, and respond to the needs for practical guidance in implementing professional standards. So these are the ACCT's mission. Of course, ACCT handles CP exams. Therefore, currently, both the PCAOB and the ACCT's ASB set the U.S. audit standards together, one for public, one for non-public. All right, PCAOB. PCAOB has a legal responsibility to establish GAS, General Accepted Auditing Standards, right? Attestation, ethics, and the quality control standards for accounting firms who audit public companies. Right, you can check the list of the standards established by PCAOB within this link, auditing and the related professional practice standards, including auditing standards, attestation standards, ethics, independence rules, quality control standards, auditing interpretations. Well, of course, PCAOB used a lot of the publication from the Audit Standard Board of the AICPA, and they add their new rules. So that's we have the current audit rules for public companies. So how does PCAOB issue audit standards? Basically, PCAOB monitors current or emerging audit issues. Right? If they think the issue is important, they're going to develop a research agenda. Okay, and once they have the research findings, they're going to determine whether they're going to move forward and now work on a standard setting project. Right, like any standards, there's a draft, right? And they publish a draft, they get feedbacks, and then eventually will be approved, become a new standards. Because there are so many auditing standards, the PCAOB decided they're going to reorganize everything. Now we have the PCAOB codification of auditing standards. You can check the codification through this link. Right, the codification has the following topics. It has the general auditing standards. Right, the code is AS1 something, 4-digit code, followed by auditing procedures. Right, it starts with 2000. Then audit reporting, 3000. Matters related to filing under federal security laws, 4,000, and other matters, that's 6,000. Now back to ASB, right, of the ACCT. ASB has its ASB principles, titled "The Principles Underlying an Audit Conducted in Accordance with the General Accepted Auditing Standards." Based on these principles, the ASB published a Statement on Auditing Standards, SAS. Just like the PCLB, the ASB also codifies all its publications. Now we have the ASB codifications, and they range by the different topics. For example, in a general principle and responsibility is AUC 200 to 299, right? And audit evidence is 500 to 599. So that's ASB codifications, right? You can check their publications with using the codifications and find the topic and the standards you want easily. Right, we've talked auditing for public and for non-public. How about the government auditing? Okay, let's talk about government auditing standards. Right, the standards issued by the Governmental Accountability Office, or the GAO. Right, its publication, the Governmental Auditing Standards, is often referred to as the Yellow Book. Right, it is applicable to all governmental organizations. Right, the unique feature of government auditing is it measures effectiveness of the expenditures, not just identify the amount spent. Right? It also includes compliance auditings. And there are 3 levels of government auditing. Right, the basis, everyone needs to follow the GAS by the ACCT, General Accepted Auditing Standards. Right? And agencies who are spending federal money, right, need to follow the government auditing standards, also known as GAGAS. Right? Including non-for-profit or any companies who spend federal money. And if you spend a lot of federal monies, okay, you may subject to the called a single audit. It's a federal audit requirements from the OMB Circular A133. Right, applies to state, local, and non-for-profit organizations who's spending a lot of federal monies. I think they increased the thresholds to $1 million starting from 2025. Right, for example, if you're non-for-profit or organizations and you use up more than $1 million from the federal fund, okay, you are subject to the single audit. So as you can see, the complexity increases, right, from the basic GAS to GAGAS, and the more complicated one is a single audit. Other auditing standards, the Institute of Internal Auditors, they issue the standards for professional practice of internal auditing. So that's for internal auditing standards. And the Comptroller General has established the U.S. Auditing Standards Coordination Forum, so participated by various parties who can collaborate together to solve a problem. Right, with so many auditing standards, it summarizes hierarchy of auditing standards. The primary authoritative support Okay, when we do research, those are primary authoritative literature or support. We have there. If we're looking for general applications, they are the ASB, right? Principle Underlying an Audit, issued by ASB, and the SAS, the Statement Audit Standards from ASB, and the PCAOB's Auditing and Related Professional Practice Standards, right? And auditing interpretations, and the AICPA Code of Conduct. Those are the primary authority support for general applications, and for special applications to certain entities, again, they are still authoritative. The industry audit guides, internal audit guidance, and the statement positions of the auditing standard divisions, and then the publication from the GAL. And for secondary authoritative support, we have audit research, right? AICPA audit accounting manuals and journal articles and textbooks. Those are secondary authoritative support. Globally, we have the international auditings. The International Federation of Accountants, the IFAC, develops a worldwide accounting profession with harmonized standards. And the IFAC created International Auditing Practices Committees. So these committees issued international standards on auditings and international auditing practice statement. Although they are international auditing rules standards, but they are not authoritative in each country. So you have to in compliance with those rules for in those countries. Okay, when there's a conflict, then the committee is going to kick in to find a resolution. And in 2002, the IFAC created a new board called International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, ISB, which replaces IAPC. Okay, now the International Auditing Standards is IASB. Right, so where do we find those publications? The AICPA has online professional libraries. It contains professional standards, right? Technical practice aids, auditing and accounting guides, auditing alerts, risk assessment. So everything very comprehensive, but it's subscription only from AICPA. The professional standards segment is often utilized in the CPA exams in conducting auditing research. So, if we don't have subscription, how do we get to those literatures? So we can use a checkpoint, okay, from the school libraries online database. Use a checkpoint for auditing research. You can get to the same literatures or standards. So to get there, we can log in the university library, right? Find the checkpoint as we did in the previous lectures. Okay, we can access AICPA standards through the accounting, audit, and the corporate finance libraries through that sections. Then we're going to select standards and regulations, right? And select AICPA. We can see all the publication standards from the AICPA. That's very comprehensive. Right here we have a view from the checkpoint. Right here you can select the federal tax or accounting, auditing, corporate finance. You can select accounting, auditing, corporate finance. Right, you can search any keyword. For example, you search interested in going concern. You can search going concern. But if we want to find a specific, AICPA publications, right? I'd like to check the source. The source, okay, and yes, it's auditing, accounting, auditing, and then find the table of content, okay. And right here, it's we can check the standards and the regulations, right? You see we have the standards regulation from AICPA. Okay. All right, so basically we have everything published by AICPA, and the professional standards, maybe those are the interesting ones. Okay, so you can just click the documents. We can get access to the AICPA's professional standards. All right, so that's how we get to those literature with our database. Right, another important rule standards is AICPA's Code of Professional Conduct. Right, this Code of Professional Conduct is a minimum level of requirement for all the AICPA members, including CPAs. Okay, and one of the important concepts is to determine independence. Independence is a major concept. Okay, when should we be independent, and when we may not be independent. Right, and the code has 3 sections according to members' practice for public, right, and business, and other services. So the service to the public companies, right, service to non-public business, and others will be different, slightly different. And it includes a conceptual framework, threats, and a safeguards approach. Right? And many times there's no specific rules for us to determine whether it's a threat, or right? So we have to apply a conceptual framework using a third party's viewpoint to see if there's any threats, and if there's any threats, what are the safeguards approach we can adopt. So if you're asked to conduct research on potential ethical violations, right, you should directly use the code, right, the Code of Professional Conduct for these purposes. Right here we have an overview of the Code of Professional Conduct, right? The level 1 has the principles which provide framework. Level 2 is a rule, and level 3 is interpretation of the rule. Right, finally, let's discuss the role of judgment in accounting and auditing research. Right, in many ways we need to have a judgment, for example, in determining the substance of transactions, adequacy of disclosures, right, materiality thresholds. All these places we need to make our judgment. Auditors will gather information, right, evaluates everything, and judges then express an opinions. Therefore, the professional judgment is often referred to as the application of relevant trainings, knowledge, and experience in making informed decisions about the courses of action in audit engagement. So it's a comprehensive procedures. And many pronouncements, many standards or rules provide only guidelines or alternatives. So we need our judgment. Right? The critical thinking skills are critical, and sometimes we may consider the opinions of other professionals. For example, we can post questions from the AICPA forums and get opinions from other professionals. Right, so that's a brief review of this lecture.